cancer and diabetes. We can change. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. I say, yes, we can. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Teenage pregnancies.
Well, yes, we can. Yes, we can. And we just have to stay focused as a people. And as I said earlier on, hearing from the officials of the Ministry of Health this evening, they said that 177 people have been housed at the possible facilities, and also some 51 been discharged and sent home for further quarantine under clear instructions, and 126 people in quarantine at the facilities right now, and some 185 tests completed so far, and 173 are negative, with 12 cases, knowing that one actually came in today. So we have 12 cases of positive COVID-19 in our beautiful country, Dominica. And the song, Yes You Can, is just an indication that we can do what we say that we can do. And we have in the studios with us the Honorable Prime Minister and that of the Minister for Health, the Honorable Irving McIntyre. I just want to say good evening to both of you all in Studio 2. Good evening, Mr. Minister.
Good evening, Cecil.
And good evening to Mr. Prime Minister. Good evening to you, Mr. Prime Minister.
Hi, good evening to you, Cecil. Of course, good evening to your listeners.
I want to know what was last week like for you all. Both of you all, how was last week? Before we get into the meat of the business. Mr. McIntyre.
Well, last week was a very busy week for us, Cecil. Putting lots of things in place. Putting the safety of the country and its citizens first. So we had lots of things. It's just all about getting prepared. And day by day, we just keep doing things and we keep adjusting accordingly just to make sure that we can have the best response for this COVID-19. So last week was a very busy week. Not just the Ministry of Health, but all the other stakeholders involved, whether it's the customs, immigration, environmental health, all the fire and ambulance, all our health staff, health professionals, everyone was involved, So it was a very busy week for all of us, just getting prepared and getting ready to just face this pandemic, this COVID pandemic. So it was a busy week, but it was a fruitful week, productive week, I must confess. I think we're in a much better position now than we were 1 week ago, and that's what it's all about, getting prepared to the best of our ability.
Mr. Prime Minister.
Yes, Cecil, busy week. Obviously, the coronavirus is a preoccupation. It occupies most of our time, literally 99% of our time, in ensuring that the plans which the health team, and of course, by extension, the government will have put in place is functioning and working, and that the system is working. So it's we have meetings. We've had meetings last week. I mean, every single day, many times during the day, receiving reports and advice and updates on where we are.
Well, Mr. Minister, today we received some reports and some updates. Help us in the information that we have gotten today.
Last night we we got one more case, and that case was from the Marigot area, and it was a 70-year-old female patient who was symptomatic as well. So her results came in, and so that adds our number. That brings up our number to 12. Today was a very busy day, seeing that the person was from the Marigot area. So we had 3 teams out there actually, doctors and nurses, and trying to get all the contacts. So we actually traced up to 20 contacts of that particular case in the Marigot area, and we took swabs for all of these, and we're going to start running the tests to see how to see what the results of these contacts are. So it was a very busy last night as well, and this morning and all this afternoon. As a matter of fact, the team came back late this evening. They were successful in identifying all the contacts. We took swabs for all the contacts. I must confess, the people were very, very cooperative, which makes our job much easier in terms of tracing the contacts and in terms of case identification. So it was a busy night, and a busy day as well. But it was a fruitful day. We actually identified all the contacts, which is good news for us. So we just wait to see the results. And then that's what we do every day, you know. We go out, we try to get as many contacts as possible. We try to, you know, trace as many people as possible. We try to do all of our different swabs and see what our results are going to tell us. And we're just hopeful that's what we're not going to stop. That's what we're going to keep doing. It's all about case identification. That's one of the main ways in fighting the COVID is case identification combined with, you know, distancing. We've spoken about it time and time again. So when you put all of these together, I think we have a good way, a good chance of fighting this virus as much as possible.
Prime Minister, social distancing. DBS Radio, I'm sure that when you came in, I must say you must have been surprised to see the kind of things that you've been doing to ensure social distancing is being kept. Tell us a little bit more about your views about social distancing and what we as a people are actually doing now.
Well, this has been advised by the health professionals, so we're actually following the dictates of the health professionals because of the manner in which this virus spreads, and so they've indicated to us, WHO Power, and of course our own local health professionals, that social distancing can in fact help in minimizing the infection rate and spreading of the virus. But Cecil, this is why, you know, we have over time taken a number of measures in our efforts towards fighting this virus, and every time we come to the country, there are additional measures we have to take to protect the citizens of our country and the residents of our country. And one of those actions we took, for example, on the weekend just gone, and as a matter of fact, it is still in effect. That is the requesting of our citizens to stay home for a number of reasons. You know, one, we believe that if we stay home, then again the issue of social distancing comes in, and of course the issue of minimizing the spread of this virus comes in. But also we're mindful of the impact which this fight of COVID-19 is having on our health system. And you know, once all of the staff that have been identified and assigned to COVID-19 are exclusively to COVID-19, so they can't come to work today and deal with a COVID patient, and then tomorrow morning deal with the other patients. They're completely set aside for this, and so the health system, in terms of a normal day-to-day issues, accidents and emergencies, patients at the various wards, you do not have the extent of the staff that you would have had on a normal circumstances, and so when an accident happens, then it places an additional burden on the health system, and so this is why we have asked people to stay home. We've sent public officers home. They're working from home, most of them. You know, some of the private sector entities have also done that. They've asked their staff to stay home and work from home in many instances. And so what we're trying to do with this is to minimize the opportunity for unnecessary interaction, unnecessary contact, and so we intend to continue. This is why we're here tonight, to really share with the public our continued intentions of having the measures that we have currently in place to continue, which started on Saturday, but to allow for certain activities to take place during specified times. So, for example, we will allow for the grocery shops to open in the villages and the supermarkets to open, but for a specific time frame. So, for example, maybe from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., the supermarkets could open on weekdays, but on weekends we're saying that the entire country should be shut down, and everybody should be home, with the exception of those who have to be out, and those things will be defined. Those services will be defined in whatever regulations the government will issue in the next day or so.
And I'm sure as the night goes on, Mr. Prime Minister, that you will be able to articulate that intention. I want to find out from you quick, Mr. Prime Minister, before we go deep into our discussion, in reference to the impact on health. I know that you are responsible for finance. I would like to know what's the impact that COVID-19 has on Dominica reference the finance of the state.
Well, it's a major impact. I mean, productivity is not at the level it should be. Um, um, the revenues of the state have been severely impaired. Um, international trade, you know, has dropped dramatically. So the hotels are empty, which means no revenue coming from the tourism industry into the treasury and into the pockets of our citizens. Um, the the impact on the economy is tremendous, and it will certainly um, be extended for several months to come. Um, th- we have indicated to the country that the government will certainly come forward with a regime of package of incentives or stimulus that will assist the nation, assist the citizens in cushioning the impact. But everything has to be taken in stages. You know, we can't be talking about somebody's job tomorrow if we have to keep them alive today. And so our preoccupation now is to keep Dominicans alive and to ensure that the numbers don't grow to any significant number. So we're seeking to manage and to contain the spread of the virus in Dominica. But at the same time, we are behind the scenes. There are people who are behind the scenes who are advising the government on certain measures to take. And the other thing too is that, I mean, people know this government. We have faced many disasters in the past. Most recently, 2017 Maria, and people have seen the response of the government. I understand, and rightly so, that there will be anxieties for those whose jobs will be impacted. But we can't lose hope. We can't lose hope at all. We are fighting the war. Let us fight this war together. And at the end of the day, we will all stand together to ensure that life um, will be assured, opportunities will be assured for all of us in Dominica, especially the vulnerable and especially those who will be impacted in a most significant manner by this virus. This is a global pandemic. It's a global crisis. It's a global war. Um, but I will say this is not a time for anybody to seek to instill fear in our people. This is not a time for people to instill fear in people. We have to give people hope. We have to give people comfort. That's what leadership's supposed to be. It's not about instilling fear in people and letting people almost feel that they have to commit suicide. No, we're going for a battle. Um, the battle is not only ours; it's the Lord's as well, and we will overcome. But fear is not something that we should bring in the mix and the midst of people. And and further deepening their anxieties is not what people want. You understand? This is a battle. This is a war. This is an invisible enemy, and then we all have to work to fight it. And if we all work to fight it, we shall live to see another day. And that's the approach we need to take. But where the economy is concerned, um, loss of revenue to the state is not my preoccupation now. My preoccupation is that at the end of this battle, at the end of this war, we have a Dominica that is standing, and we have a people that are alive and well. And those who have been affected by this virus will live to see another day in better health, so that we can all work towards building Dominica. So, talking about the economy and money and all those things, there's good sound bites, but that is not the battle now. The battle now is to ensure that we contain this virus and we manage the spread of this virus. And that is what is preoccupying ourselves today. The tens of millions of dollars the government is losing on a daily basis, yes, it will crush your mind from time to time. But we want to ensure that whoever unfortunately contracts this virus can survive, and the rest of us who have not will not. And so all our resources, just to say to the people of Dominica, that so far I have a set of bills and invoices just to fight this COVID virus in the amount of about $16.8 million. You understand? $16.8 million, and we're not shirking on our efforts. We're not saying we're not going to spend this, whatever it's going to take to ensure that we can save our people from death as far as humanly possible. That's our preoccupation. But we are not in the business of spewing fear in people while those who are doing so are hiding in the mountains. Now is not the time to hide in the mountains. Now is the time for us to come forward and to hold hands and together fight this disease. I'm not running. We're standing firm. We have a good health team. We have many soldiers out there who are doing what they have to do. All of the people who are providing the services, they're highly motivated. They're committed to the task, and we say thank God we have people in Dominica, our citizens, our residents, who are prepared to stand in the face of this virus and say that we shall provide the care and support to our citizens, our brothers and sisters in Dominica. And for me, that in itself is a major victory.
Now, Mr. Minister, Mr. McIntyre, just heard the Prime Minister, and I really want to say to you, Mr. Prime Minister, you said that earlier on in reference to the economy. I got goosebumps in you making that mention that money doesn't preoccupy you, it's really getting people to survive. Mr. Minister, in reference to the fact that the Prime Minister spoke about hope and comfort to the people, I would like you to say to us, the general public, in reference to the first respondents, the work that they have been doing, what do you have to really say about them as the minister?
Well, Cecil, the truth is my response to this is that we can only be proud of all these people who have come forward and have put themselves at the forefront of the activity as regards to fighting COVID. I mean, everyone has put their best foot forward. Whether it's the fire and ambulance, we have actually 6 ambulances ready from all over the country, all the different health districts, where we have a normal ambulance for the normal activities, but we have a special one for the COVID at 6 of our 7 health districts. So we have 6 COVID ambulances ready, and the staff of the fire and ambulance, they are very much on top of their game. They're always willing to, just whenever we call, they're always ready and on time. So that's very comforting for us. Apart from fire and ambulance, the other areas, environmental health, they've been right at the forefront of it. They're there, they're the ones, well, they're the first people that the passengers meet when they come on board, and they have been very, very helpful and very diligent in their jobs. The customs, the immigration, our different health professionals, the doctors, the nurses, the lab techs, the pharmacists, all our domestic workers, our orderlies, the maintenance team, everyone is on board in that regard. The police have done an excellent job. We can't complain about that at all. In terms of our health promotion team, they are right on top of it, getting the message across to the public and let them know exactly what they have to do as well. And all the different public servants who are part of the subcommittees, our fight against COVID, we have the public servants who come together for our health professionals, and we have the little subcommittees, where with some committees deal with contact tracing, some deal with the quarantine, some deal with the security, and all of these come together to make things work. And then obviously we have all the different volunteers who've come. We have the Red Cross on board, and then we have the international organizations like PAHO and UN, and the support they give us in terms of PPEs and all of the equipment. And then now kind of the icing on the cake, we have our Cuban health professionals who've come to help us, nurses, doctors, lab techs and X-ray technicians. So when we put all of this together, that's what makes our fight even better and stronger. And if we put all of this plus the people is a very integral part of our fight against COVID, because the people are the one that need to recognize the importance of the social distancing, recognize the importance of hand hygiene, washing hands, recognize the importance of respiratory etiquette, how we sneeze, how we cough. Because we can put all these things in place, but if these little minor things that if we don't follow them, it can be a little difficult for us. So it's a comprehensive approach. All the different stakeholders, plus our hygiene, plus our respiratory etiquette, and following our social distancing. And that's the combined approach that we are using. We have all the other scientific part to back it up in terms of our case identification, in terms of our laboratory tests. Now we do some rapid testing, we do some PCR testing, but everything has to come together to get the best possible defense and the best way to fight this COVID. So it's not really one particular area, but it's all the areas coming together to give the best defense that we can possibly give.
Mr. Minister, just before I go to the Prime Minister, I remembered in 2019 general election, you made a very profound statement in your tongue, where you indicated and you said to the Dominican public that the Dominica China Friendship Hospital has the most modern equipment, and if any disease or virus is to come into our shores, that we will be able to have the capacity to do it. How do you feel about that today?
Well, it's just, not just me, but I think Dominica on the whole should be very proud of having the facility, because with this facility we have the PCR machine, which is a polymerase chain reaction machine, and this is the machine that we use to diagnose the COVID situation, the coronavirus. So when we have such a machine that can pull this off, that can diagnose the COVID-19, then it puts us in a much better place. That means we can do many more tests, and that means we can step up our case identification, which is an integral part of stopping the transmission of this virus. So the mere fact that we have this machine is of great significance in our fight against the COVID-19. And the interesting thing about this is that we are the only island in the OECS with that facility. And not only that, we actually have another PCR machine in Dominica, which we're going to start very soon, that we can be having tests being done from 2 separate labs. So because the Ministry of Agriculture does have a PCR machine, which we're using in the fight when we're dealing with the crapo, so to speak. And we're going to try to put this one into place. And it's actually even just as advanced as the one we have at the hospital. So if we can be having 2 PCR machines when some other places are struggling to even try to get one, that puts us in a much better place. And but that's all because when we are having the Dominica China Friendship Hospital, we thought of all those things. So we thought of those things in advance. So, and now we can see exactly how it's playing out for us. And then we never knew that COVID was coming. And look at how it's really been to a great advantage that we can do such testing. I mean, other islands are doing much less tests than us. And that's because they do not have the facility, they do not have the capability of doing those things. And when we do all of these tests at our PCR machine at the Douglas China's Friendship Hospital, we also get these verified with the CDC in Atlanta. And so far our results have been dead on target. So it means the validation process, it's really ongoing, and it's been impressive so far. Our results are exactly what they would have gotten in Atlanta. So it's well validated, and it really speaks a lot to our preparedness, and it really helps our approach to the preparedness for COVID-19. So if you look at it that way, when some other places are struggling to have those tests, so they take their swabs in some islands and they send it all the way to Trinidad to get. We take our swabs here and we do it right here at our PMH, and that is how prepared someone can be as regards to case identification, and that makes our job easier and it gets our preparedness even better, and we can only be proud of this. This is really, that says a lot for us.
What about you, Mr. Prime Minister?
Well, I think it's an important point, and you know, not only that we have the machine, and well, we also have the trained personnel to function these machines, and very critically to our lab facilities have been accredited, so that the results that you get in Dominica can be used in terms of statistics in the international health system, which is important. And the point that Dr. McIntyre, the minister, is making is that if we did not have the capacity and the capabilities to test it could certainly have hindered our ability to do the contact tracing and the tests that we've been doing in Dominica, because when you look, we have tested more people in the sub-region than anywhere else, because of our capabilities, which is good, and which is helpful in our fight. It's important, for that, and we are very grateful to all our partners, the government of China, and of course the Pan American Health Organization.
Now, we have seen, Mr. Prime Minister, the Cubans are here with us, giving us the relevant assistance. Your views on that one?
No, we're very grateful to the revolutionary government of the Republic of Cuba, um, the president, and of course all of the people of Cuba for their continued solidarity. When we made the request to Cuba, they came back in very quick time in the affirmative, approving of the request to send some 35 health professionals to Dominica. They are here. They're going through the necessary protocols established by the Ministry of Health. I believe once that is over, then they will assume duties in providing care to those who've been who are affected by this coronavirus. So we're very grateful for this, because we are mindful that, notwithstanding the fact that we have a number of our health professionals who have volunteered and who have availed themselves to assist the state in our care to our citizens and residents who will be impacted by this coronavirus. We understand the fact that people get tired, and you would need to have additional hands to share with the burden, so to speak. So the Cubans being there will certainly complement the local staff which we have here on island, and we're very grateful for that. But just to say to you too, that even the Cubans who have been on island are also part. Some of them are also part of the COVID efforts and so on. So some of them are running the facilities at the Dominica China Friendship Hospital currently, along side by side with our Dominicans, and we also have here on island a Chinese couple Chinese specialists. They also are assisting on advice on to how to go about treating if those affected by coronavirus. So we're very grateful for these facilities, and I believe that in time when it is completed, it will place us in a much better position to treat it such in the future.
No, Mr. Prime Minister, in reference to the Portsmouth facility, the COVID-19 hospital, it was built within 10 days. I know that it's a proud moment for us doing this within 10 days. Give us an update about COVID-19 hospital in Portsmouth.
I'll maybe defer this question to the minister, but just to say that it wasn't built in 10 days. It was set up in 10 days. It was retrofitted in terms of the interior in 10 days. And this was a Herculean task, Herculean task to have the facilities. You know, and we're very fortunate to have this facility, and we're able to have it retrofitted and equipped within 10 days. So I'll defer to the minister to speak about what's taking place there, and what are some of the equipments we have there, etc., etc.
Yes, Mr. Minister.
Well, yes, our COVID facilities, actually the St. James building that we're using, and that's in Picard in Portsmouth, and that's our COVID facility. There we have, we set it up, and that's where we keep our mild asymptomatic COVID patients. So presently we have 9 of our patients there. They're all doing pretty well, asymptomatic, so to speak, and no one is in distress, and they're clinically stable. The staff there, we have our doctors, our nurses, and they're doing an excellent job. And we're also setting up some lab facilities there as well. But we can get our blood test done from the Portsmouth Hospital. Then apart from that, our pharmacy, we also have this been very much well organized there as well. So if you ask me, I think it's going pretty well. But let alone that, we're also making sure that we have intensive care capabilities there as well. So as to our ventilator, yes, that's there. And Not only that, today we're doing, it's an ongoing process, so today we're actually doing some more adjustments so that definitely we have dialysis there as well. So it's not just having a ventilator, we can also have dialysis, because sometimes one of the issues is these patients may get into, some of the complications might be renal complications, so we're making sure we have dialysis facilities there available as well. In addition to that, there's a building next by, a adjoining building, that we're actually trying to get more beds, and that's the activity going on there. So in case of just a bigger surge, we have more capacity. At the moment, we have beds available there, that even if we were to get 10, 15 more patients, yes, we have the capacity to handle this, but we're looking beyond that. And then we're setting up another building which will be part of that COVID facility, that part of that COVID hospital, so that we can even accommodate more patients if we do get. God forbid we don't, but we're thinking ahead. We have to think ahead. We have to be proactive. We don't wait that when we have too many patients that we get overwhelmed. We see the pictures on TV and we see how health systems have been overwhelmed all over the place. And we don't want to get into that stage. So we're thinking ahead. We're being proactive, and we are creating more beds. We are setting up more beds in our other on alternative area that we've chosen and we're setting up. So it's an ongoing process, and I must say, all the workers, the construction workers are there, all our plumbers, our carpenters, the masons, and it's just ongoing. And of course, the staff from the Ministry of Public Works, Mr. Laville, Dr. John Colin McIntyre, Bubbles, the entire team, Roland, everyone is on board in that process there. So, and it is very gratifying, and it's really, it says a lot that people come forward and they just play their part in getting us as prepared as we can possibly be. So our hospital and the nurses, the doctors, they're all motivated, and we try our best to take very good care of them, in the sense that their accommodation, their transportation, their meals, their telephones, their top-ups, we're just not leaving no stone unturned. We're making sure that everyone is comfortable, everybody is happy. And that's how you're going to get the best service. You need your staff to be comfortable. We're going to provide some psychosocial support for them, and we just want everything to, because they've left, you have to face it, Cecil, they've left their families, their friends, you know, and they're putting themselves at the forefront for us, the citizens of this country, and we must be very grateful. And the best way we can be is just to provide the best for them. That's the most we can do for now, and we'll never forget these people on the front line. It means a lot to us. The country is indebted to all these people on the front line, putting their lives and at risk, and the sacrifice that they're making. And we have to appreciate it, and Dominica has to appreciate it. And likewise, we have to follow suit. If they can do that much for the country, we have to do just that little bit of social distancing, washing our hands, and respiratory etiquette, because they're doing the major stuff. We can do these little minor stuff, and together, yes, we can be better prepared than we were yesterday.
No, Mr. Minister, soon from now we're going to talk about the intention of the future of this SRNO 1320 of 2020. But I want to find out from you, sir, in reference to the 177 patients or individuals that are at the facility in Portsmouth. Can you tell us how many facilities that you have that are housing this 177?
Okay, so presently we have actually 6 facilities. We have our first facility, that is Avis Apartments. We have 50 people there. Our second facility, Janamo Apartments, we have 7. Our third facility, that's the Kenneth Barron Apartment, we have 14. We have another apartment, the Claudette Wallace Apartment, we have 8. The Portsmouth Beach Hotel, we have 35. And we have McLaurin's House, which we have 12. That's a total of 126 as of this morning. And we have the family nurse practitioner there looking after all the quarantine activities going on. And we have 6 community health aides helping us with those things there. Then and then everything has been pretty much stable. Initially, there was a little teething issues, which some people mentioned, as regards to the timing of the meals, but of late, absolutely no one is complaining. The meals are on time, and everyone, the nurses are checking them regularly as their temperatures and all these different things. So we really, the staff at the quarantine facility, they're doing an excellent job. And they've been very calm, very quiet, and we keep checking them regularly, their temperatures, so we make sure that looking for any different symptoms that they might mention or things that we notice, signs that we notice. And all in all, I think the quarantine is working pretty well. Sometimes when they've crossed their 2 weeks, then we actually even transport them to their homes. And then some of those that we've done tests for that came back negative, we put them home, also on home quarantine. So it's a comprehensive approach, and so far we feel pretty safe in that. We also have security there, and you might have heard some rumors that people escaped from the quarantine. That wasn't true. That nothing like this happened. They're pretty safe. The police are doing an excellent job in keeping the quarantine safe. Actually, 24/7 we have the police there, and no complaints. They'll be doing a pretty good job there. We have the place sanitized as well. We have special people coming to sanitize the place, and so all in all, it's been going pretty smooth. Meals are on time, and the people are comfortable. You've noticed of late, there's been no complaints. Everybody's comfortable. The staff is well motivated, and we think the quarantine is working pretty well. We have lots of people on home quarantine as well, and we're just urging these people on home quarantine to at least just adhere to the instructions that they've been given. It means a lot in our fight against COVID. If you're told to stay home, you're on home quarantine, just observe the home quarantine. It means a lot, and because, just one person not following the home quarantine measures, we saw what happened. We had the experience. It can cost us 9 patients. So we're really just urging the public. If you're told to stay home, you're on home quarantine, just stay home. But as for our quarantine facilities, Cecil, we've been doing pretty well, and everyone is comfortable, I must confess. They have very good accommodation there, and no one is complaining.
What is the process, Mr. Minister, quickly? Because I want to go to the Prime Minister to talk about the SRNO 13. What is the process in terms of the home quarantine so that we can assure the people out there who are thinking that the home quarantine is not done? What is the process of the home quarantine for those individuals?
Okay, well, at the moment, our ports are closed. But when they were open, and some of the people we did test as soon as they came in, we got their results, and then we have them to do home quarantine. When we ask you to do home quarantine, we also have the primary healthcare system following up and checking on these people. And whether it's to check their temperatures or whether it's to find out whether they have any symptoms or not. Sometimes they call them to find out what's happening, and we also give them our number that they can call us if they notice anything or if there's any symptoms. So it's a approach where they can call us, we can call them, but we also go to check them to make sure temperatures are in order and stuff like that. But the important thing is for the people to observe. When we give them the instructions, and so we're really asking them to observe the home quarantine measures. It means a lot. That's why we're telling them to do home quarantine. Home quarantine means a lot. Some of those who came from hotspots, we have them in our facility in Portsmouth, and even some of those who were negative their test and we sent them home, we also asked them to follow the home quarantine measures. And well, granted, not everybody might have the perfect home setting. So then if we know that you have a separate room downstairs or a room on the side there, yes, we ask you to do home quarantine. And even if there are more than one people sharing a toilet, we just make sure that the person who is on home quarantine uses the toilet last, and then it is disinfected. So we have ways of handling those things, and all these have been explained to them by our district health teams. All they have to do is just follow the advice. And when you tell you to stay home, just stay home. We don't want the intermixing and, all that sort of stuff. So it's home quarantine means home quarantine. You stay home, it's isolation at home. Granted, you'll find something to do. There's the radio, there's the TV, you got your cell phones. And it's just if we ask you to do it for 2 weeks, it's just for 2 weeks. But we know the advantage, we know the benefits. That's why we're asking you. It's been proven scientifically. Yes, home quarantine has been done all over the world. And if it's done properly, it really helps our fight against the COVID-19. So it's been ongoing, and we have to say that the primary healthcare department and our health staff in our different communities, they're doing an excellent job, and we have to be proud of them, and we just have to encourage them, and so that they can accomplish that mission of just having a very efficient home quarantine system, which is what we're trying our best to achieve here.
Yes, Mr. Prime Minister, earlier on you made mention of the continued intention. Um, Saturday last week, the Minister of Health read and gave an instruction from SRNO 13 of 2020. I would like to find out from you the way forward.
Well, the way forward is that we've been advised by the health team that we should continue with this action. And I just want to say to the Dominican citizens that whatever actions we take, these are based on advice of the health team because this is largely a health matter, and there's a health EOC um, that that oversees the state's response to this virus, and from time to time, they will proffer um, advice on this. And I have said to the health team, whatever actions they believe are necessary in our management and containment of this virus, we should proceed with it. And so we are continuing with the with asking our citizens um, to minimize being out in the public if they don't have to be. So just to say to you that they are, and we understand that we have to try to facilitate the public in certain aspects, but also manage how much time we as the citizens and residents spend out. So it has been advised, for example, during the week, we can allow for some forms of activities to take place. So we know people have to go out to buy food, to buy groceries, and we will allow them during the week to do so. So, and of course, do not hold me to the times because the times are still being worked on. But say, for example, we may allow you to open, say, from 6 to 2 p.m., 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. But that is only in the weekdays. Huh? So you can go to do your fishing, bring your fish in, sell your fish. You can go in and check your animals, go in, check your animals, go back home. Um, Banking services will continue. Obviously, the banks have also, based on consultation with the Ministry of Finance, have agreed, the financial institutions have agreed on certain protocols that they will follow where banking is concerned. They will minimize people coming in and to use more online services, etc. They have articulated this in the public announcements and so forth, which is all in keeping with the whole approach of social distancing. The other essential services in the public domain, which will continue even when we have the complete lockdown. There will be some essential services that will continue: fire and ambulance, the prison, the police, etc. These are things that will continue. You're also looking at people who work for the telecommunication and broadcasting services, people who work for the electricity and sanitation and water companies. People have to be out there responding to certain necessities. So they'll be out there dealing with those issues. We're also making provisions for people who work in the health system, obviously, the infirmary and nursing homes, and also critically to those persons who are providing home care to our seniors and persons living with disabilities. So we are seeking to make some provisions for people to be able to carry out some activities, albeit in a limited fashion, recognizing that again we are taking these actions to ensure, as far as practically possible, our people are safe and that we can contain the spread of this virus in our society. But we have been advised on the weekends we should have a complete shutdown. So you won't get the grocery stores shops to be open on the weekend. Okay, um, the gas stations will be closed on the weekend, but we allow you for the week in the week to be able to buy your petroleum products during the week time, albeit specific times, and those times will be expressed hopefully by tomorrow. Okay, um, but if you do not have any reason to be outside, stay inside. You wanted to work from home, you wanted to go home weeks ago, you're home now, stay inside. You see what I'm saying? Because as far as possible, we're stressing the issue of us staying away from harm's way. Um, the the other issue that we also be putting forward is that on public transport, the buses. We recognize that uh, a minibus is licensed to carry, I believe, about 16 or 17 passengers. Now, when we are on these buses, we're squeezing, 4 people, 5 people on one row. We're suggesting, and of course that will be finalized hopefully tomorrow. But the thinking and recommendation there is that we should have one passenger per row on these minibuses to allow for the distance that we're talking about. Okay, the good thing is that I have seen a number of bus drivers um, practicing this. You understand? Where the buses are not as filled as we're accustomed of having them. So the good thing about it is this, and I want to commend the public that I really commend the public for their cooperation and understanding. You understand? Really, in many instances, many parts of the public were ahead of the Ministry of Health in terms of the actions that they have to take and so on. So we commend people for doing this. The other recommendation that has come forward is for the suspension of liquor licenses in Dominica. Because there has been an observation that at a lot of these shops where people get a little the spirit of man from time to time, that there's a gathering of people at those rum shops, what we call the rum shops and so on, those bars, that are not in keeping with that which has been recommended. And so to protect these people from any harm, we're seeking to suspend liquor licenses across the country for a period of time. All in an effort to protect our citizens. This is not something that we want to do. This is not something that we're excited about. This is something that we have to do in these extraordinary times. And so these are some of the things that will be put in place in the SRO. That will be so the SRO 13 would be further amended to bring greater clarity to some of the concerns the public has raised.
Now, let me ask you, Mr. Prime Minister, if, for instance, in reference to the liquor license, someone or a shop does not adhere to it, what would be the penalty for
There are penalties in there. I have to look for the penalties, but there will be penalties that will be instituted.
But there are penalties.
Yeah, of course.
Yes.
Every one of the actions will call for certain responsibilities, and if one fails to respect this order, then there'll be penalties and so on. But as to say, Cecil, the preoccupation of the Ministry of Health, and by extension the Cabinet, is not about penalties. Our preoccupation is to protect people from themselves and to protect the country from this virus. You understand? So our preoccupation is not necessarily about penalties if people don't do that. Our hope and our prayer is that we'll all respect it and we'll all do what we've been asked to do. And if that happens, then there's no need to talk about penalties. But obviously, in legislation like this, there'll always be provisions for penalties in this. But the overarching interest there is to keep the nation safe and to keep the citizens and residents of our country safe.
And in keeping the nation safe, Mr. Prime Minister, I would like to know, in reference to social distance, in reference to the churches, we know that some churches may want to have their Sunday or their Sabbath service. What is the
well,
rule on this one?
I'm not aware of any church. I mean, I can tell you that the church has been very supportive, and their collaboration has been exceptional. I'm talking all of the churches nationally. I don't want to identify any one or a group of them. But I think that they have taken the appropriate action where social distancing is concerned. But the regulations state that in terms of social distancing, we're talking about a maximum of 10 people in any given area. That is the existing SRO. I'm looking for the specific section that deals with it. But you're talking about no more than 10 people. And yeah, so no more than 10 people. So we are saying there that the churches have been very supportive of it, and we do not see any difficulties with that and so on. But where you want to have actual congregations, then you have to adhere to the no more than 10 people in any given space, taking into consideration the proximity to each other.
That also take into account, Mr. Prime Minister, the supermarkets.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And again, I must commend the private sector, the many supermarkets that have instituted this social distancing. They have done a fantastic job in this, but we also calling on them to also pay attention to those gathering outside. Though I have seen some of them in moving around, have also placed markers outside. But you know, sometimes we always want to rush in Dominica, and we not any discipline of forming lines. But it's important that each of us, because at the end of the day, the government can tell you all what the government needs to tell you. The Ministry of Health can tell you all what it needs to tell you. The health team can tell you all what it needs to tell you. The private sector can do all what they believe they can put in place to ensure your safety. But at the end of the day, fundamentally speaking, it is up to us individually to ensure that we adhere to these admonitions and these guidelines. And so if we go somewhere, for example, if when I come to the cabinet room and there are more than 10 people, they say, look, yeah, somebody go outside. You see what I'm saying? So we have to keep it to 10, and then we will have cabinet by Zoom. You know, so we are respecting this. So you have to respect this. I drive myself to work because I have to protect myself. I also have to protect the police officers. So I drive myself to work. So I'm alone in the vehicle. So each of us must take actions. You see me, I walk all over with my alcohol and so on. I spray. When I came here, I sprayed the chair. I sprayed the table and so forth. And so we all have to take actions that we believe can protect ourselves, and very importantly too, protect the person in whose company we are in.
As you're saying that, Mr. Prime Minister, talking about driving yourself to work, in Grenada today, we saw that the Prime Minister of Grenada made it very clear that no more than one person should be in any private vehicle.
Yeah.
I'm trying to wonder if Dominica will go down that line.
Well, we're going down that line in respect to the minibuses, public transport, where we're saying one person on each row of the bus.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we have taken note of this in Grenada with regards to the vehicle, but of course we'll have to be advised on it. So we have not. There's no. I can't say definitively that it will appear in the SRO or will not appear in the SRO, but I know that was placed on the table as well.
And that also too in Grenada, Mr. Prime Minister, we saw today that the Prime Minister made pronouncement of curfew for 24 hours for 7 days.
Well, yes, and they also made certain exceptions for specific times, I believe. I did not see the order itself. I only saw a write-up on it. But I know that they have made provisions for it. And one of the things we say in Cecil too is that, look, while the grocery shops will be open, if you are living in Vegas, for example, there is no need for you to go to Portsmouth to buy groceries if you can get it by the grocery shops in Vegas. So, as far as possible, avoid unnecessary traveling, avoid unnecessary movement. If you don't have to be in a place, stay home. So we're saying that yes, we're facilitating the general public to go to the pharmacy, to go to the groceries, to go and check their farms and check their animals and so forth. But do it in a responsible manner. don't try to defy the order by being outside stupidly. Because all of these things you're doing, I would really be happy if I was not here. One, talking about COVID-19. There was no COVID-19 to talk about. You understand? And we'll be speaking about a Chinese delegation that will have been in Dominica to deal with the airport, or the commencement of construction of a number of housing projects and so forth, on roadways and so forth. But we're here, and I would have been happy not to be here talking about restricting people's movement, because one movement of a person is a fundamental right. You understand? But the law makes provision, the Constitution makes provisions for ensuring that the state is empowered to protect citizens of the state, and that's why we're here talking about this tonight and so forth. So obviously we will give more details on this, but just to say, we are soliciting the cooperation of the public, that we have to put these impositions in place for the welfare and well-being of all of us in Dominica.
Before I go to Dr. McIntyre, Prime Minister, I want to find out in reference to harmonious legislation. I spoke to a Grenadian yesterday, last night to be precise, to a St. Lucian, and also to an Antiguan, and I realized that the laws that we are quoting, especially SRN of 1420 of 20, are almost similar in the OECS.
Well, we all fighting the same enemy. You see what I'm saying? And the enemy comes in the same form in all of these countries. Obviously, different countries are fighting at different levels and different scales, but it's the same enemy, and there are certain actions which must be taken and which ought to be taken, and so you're right. There'll be similarities. You will hear in the United States they speak about certain things, and you'll hear in Italy or France or Guadeloupe or Martinique or Dominica or St. Vincent or Antigua and Grenada that they're speaking about the same things, that we're speaking about the same things. So it is the same enemy we're fighting, and it is the same war we're fighting. As I said, obviously different scales, different levels, and so you will see and hear similarities in the actions and the legislation which will be put in place by our countries and so forth. But we believe that if we all of us were to adhere to these things, then we'll be in a much better place to fight it. And I said again, one of the reasons why we put in this place is to minimize the opportunity or eliminate the opportunity for unnecessary accidents and emergencies, because these things are placing an additional burden on the state. The other thing that we want to caution people against and to dissuade people from engaging themselves in, which poses a major threat to the welfare of the state, that is the number of people who are coming through illegal means into Dominica. And for us, though it's against the law, at this time we are not even preoccupied with the illegal entry into Dominica per se, though it has to be condemned because it is against our laws. But in respect, it places Dominica at a great risk when people come into the country illegally, and they simply just in the dead of night just go into the communities, into the villages, and then the morning comes and they walk about among us. And so it is not in their interest, in their personal interest, to do so, because they do not know whether they have the virus. And it is not in the interest of their families. And it is not in the interest of the wider community and the wider country. So we want people to dissuade themselves. If you want to come into Dominica, you're a citizen, and you send an SOS that you're coming down, then arrangements could possibly be made by the authorities, and to allow you to come in, and so that we can take you into the quarantine facilities, so that we can be assured by various testing that you are not COVID positive. And so this is an area that is of serious concern to us, and we're asking the citizens of Dominica to be vigilant on this and to report cases of people who you know who would have come into the country illegally, so that we can reach out to them. Not the preoccupation is not about prosecution. It is about ensuring that the health system can know where you stand in respect to COVID-19, and that we can protect the citizens of our country from from this virus. And because we know that our neighbors in Guadeloupe and Martinique, there are high numbers of this, and we pray for them, and we pray to God that the numbers won't continue to increase in our sister nations. We have such an excellent relationship with Guadeloupe and Martinique. President Chalous, I know him very well, the president of the collectivity there, and of course the president of the collectivity in Martinique, Comrade Marie-Jeanne, and the wonderful people of Martinique and Guadeloupe. I follow the news daily, and it pains me to see what they're going through and the challenges that they're confronting. So we all in this fight together. So we're urging our citizens who are out of Dominica, do not do this.
No, you're talking about our citizens. What about if by any chance we get foreign citizens, and knowing that our borders are closed, what would be government's policy on that one?
We're not allowing any foreign nationals to come into Dominica at this stage.
No, I'm saying about if they come through the back door.
If they come through the back door, the laws of Dominica shall be dealt with, shall be imposed upon anybody, including our citizens.
Mm-hmm.
We have to exercise. We're part of the global community, and then we have to exercise certain humanitarian considerations. You understand? And so if there is somebody who is in distress and the person needs to be rescued by us in Dominica, then we will do so. But let us do so in an organized, informed manner. People ought not to come in this country in a clandestine manner. This is against the laws of Dominica, and more importantly, at this stage, it is placing at risk all of us when people just come in these fishing boats and land all over this southern Dominica. And we who know about these people, we need to inform the authorities so that we can ensure that we know the status of these people. That is important. That is important. So I'm urging and I'm calling on those persons, please desist from doing so. If you're in distress, you're a citizen of our country. We have an obligation to you as a citizen of Dominica, but let us do so in a responsible, transparent manner so that we can protect you, protect your family, and protect the whole of Dominica.
Dr. Mark, the Prime Minister just made mention about the fundamental rights of citizens for free movement of people. But we have seen that a curfew has been placed, and out of that curfew, some persons are breaking the rules by really hanging out together in very close proximity of each other. What is the Ministry of Health concerned about this?
Well, you see, the main reason why we've put in the curfew, you have to appreciate the fact that the virus needs transport. The virus needs a transport to move from one place to another. And then we, the human beings, we are the transport system for the virus. So if we put a curfew in place and we're not moving all over the place, then the virus cannot move all over the place, which is the science behind this social distancing. This is the science behind the curfews that we're putting. So it's of paramount importance that actually people follow those guidelines being put forward by the health department. If we don't move all over the place, then the virus cannot move all over the place. And this is where the public has to play its part in observing and adhering to all these measures that we've been putting in place. So the public is a very integral part of our defense against the virus. We know when we tell them, look, let's stay home, let's not move about. If we move about, then we move the virus about. If we stay home, then the virus cannot move all over the place. So that's just so important. So that's why when we have the curfew, and then people cannot be socializing all over the place, intermingling in close proximity, then we limit the whole spread of the virus. That's the science behind it. And the public have to appreciate that fact, and the public has to play its part. Let alone that part also, it's all about community policing. So we can play our part. It's not just the Command for Dominica Police Force, but even we as the citizens, we have the responsibility that when we see people out, we can always tell them, and if we heard that, we can also mention it to them, and we can also educate people. It's one to tell the other, us to educate each other and tell each other, look, you've been told to stay indoors, please stay indoors. In a polite way, of course, but we have to get the message across. It's all of us have to be part of this fight against the COVID. So we have to appreciate if we get to some place and we're being allowed to go to the supermarket or wherever between 6 o'clock and 2 p.m., 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. And we cannot all gather in a crowd outside the door rushing to get in. We can just, if we have, just get at least 6 feet apart, or if someone is too close to you, take 3 steps back. And we even if we have to make a very long line all outside the supermarket, but we're going to make the line. It's just a little sacrifice we have to do now to protect ourselves. So we can tell each other, if we see people just too close, say, look, let's just make a line, let's just go 6 feet apart, and we'll line up all the way along the sidewalk, but we're taking precautionary measures. It's a little sacrifice we make, but we know the benefits of those little sacrifices. And no pain, no gain. We have to do those things, and we have to tell each other all of those different things. And the same thing the Prime Minister said, the people come in through the back door. If we know of someone in the community, as he said, it's not about the whole criminal aspect about it, it's about protecting our health. So we can tell the health workers that, this person came in, and then we just check them out, put them in quarantine, get them tested, and we all feel safe. That's how we have to pull it off. So everyone has to play their part. And you see, all these little things, it gives our staff rest, because our staff is going to be overwhelmed and burdened with all the different activities going on. So we just cannot keep putting more work on the staff unnecessarily. If we just follow the guidelines, we adhere to the different measures that have been put in place, it gives our staff some rest, it gives them time to recuperate and get re-energized, and they can get out to work again, rather than being all buckled down with the little unnecessary delinquencies going on. So we have to play our part. Everyone has to tell everyone, let's do it together. By and large, I think generally the people have understood, and we pass through Roseau. Roseau is quiet and peaceful and nice. Everyone is at home, and everyone at home, you just feel much more safe. You just feel much safer, and that's it.
But just to say, we've been advised a number of things. Just following through what Dr. Mark said. Normally we would shake hands, we would embrace, but we don't do those things anymore. We wash our hands more often than we used to do before. I'm wearing this mask for the first time because the chief medical officer, Dr. Ferrer, has insisted on this, and we have taken on board his admonishment, and then we're wearing this, but it'll come it'll out of practice. It will become part of our culture. You understand? Because we're not a culture in society to wear masks. The first time I wear a mask in many years. So you may have even seen me touch it once or twice, which I shouldn't be doing. But eventually, it will be like wearing clothes, or putting on makeup for many. But it's practice, practice, and following the guidelines certainly will help us in minimizing the opportunity for the spread of the virus.
Now, I also want to find out from you, Mr. Minister Irving McIntyre. You made mention about public transportation. In terms of sanitization to sanitize the public transport, how does the Ministry of Health instruct the bus drivers for that?
Well, we've been explaining to them there are many different compounds out there. You must have heard a lot about the alcohol, isopropyl alcohol, which so many people walking around with their little bottle and their sprays. You must have heard about Lysol as well. And there are also commercial, there are companies out there that can do that for you as well. Mm-hmm. But obviously, it's a very simple process. The bus driver has, whether it's isopropyl alcohol, whether it's Lysol, whether it's the different wipes, whether you use it as a spray to apply it all over the place, or whether you use just the wipes to apply it. But yes, it can be done. And let alone buses and the transportation system, it can also be done with in buildings, whether it's in the door handles, whether it's the railings. If you come to the ministry, you see we do it very often with all the railings and all the door handles. The same applies for the different buses as well. So yes, the bus drivers have to play their part as well, and I've seen quite a few of them doing it, which is good. And even the people walking with their little bottle of alcohol and their hand sanitizers, you saw the Prime Minister with his alcohol as well tonight. These are the different little things we can do. So if you don't feel comfortable and you want to take a second line of defense, you have your alcohol to put on your hand or to just to spray the handle that you're going to touch. So people can do their things.
A concern that I have, sir, is in reference to family. We are talking about social distancing, but at home, how much do we do that?
Well,
what's the advice that you'd give to the family?
We can all sit in the dining room or in the living room, and we can all be at different areas of the place. We do it in cabinet, we do it in the office, we do it in the ministry, we do it when we have meetings. So yes, we can do it in our homes. Some of our homes might not be the biggest, but we can still exercise it to a certain extent. But we just have to do it to as much as we can. You know, it might not be the ideal situation in all homes, but it is still not an excuse not to try to do social distancing as much as you can possibly do. And but apart from social distancing at home, Cecil, while all this is going on, and whether it's during the curfew time, when we're at home, we should all be planning and putting our family plan together, just in case things may not go the way we want it to be. So it doesn't mean that I want you to go to town on Monday to buy one thing, on Tuesday to buy another thing, and on Wednesday to buy another thing. You have to plan that. You have to be responsible in that regard and know what you need to get. So when you go to shop on Monday, you get all what you need for the week. So you don't have to go to town on Wednesday and on Thursday and on Friday again. So we have to use this time to plan ahead. We have to be productive in this time. This is what it's all about. So we plan for the future, and we make sure that we put things in place so that if at all there were to be a lockdown like there was in certain other countries where they totally locked down, we have things in place. We've discussed it, we've planned about it. So we just have to make use of the time we get at home. It's family time as well, and it's time to pray as well. So there are lots of other things we can do when we're at home.
Mr. Prime Minister, purchasing of goods, and I heard Dr. Mark making the point that we should do proper planning at home for purchasing of our goods. In reference to individuals purchasing, what would you have to say to the business people or the business places in reference to the purchasing of items, where someone can buy 50 pounds of sugar versus someone purchasing, or everyone's supposed to purchase 2 pounds of sugar?
Well, I mean, it is normal human behavior to overbuy or overpurchase rather when a disaster is imminent. So that's normal practice. You see, it's all over the world. But I think the private sector would have to exercise some discretion in determining, especially essential items, how much do you let off to one person. So we recognize that some private sector entities have been doing that, where they limit you to a number of items on specific items. So that's good. We want to ensure that the prices remain within the reach of the buyers. That I understand that there is a demand and supply phenomenon, but these are difficult circumstances, and so we need to ensure that the prices remain within a reasonable time. With the ports open, Dominica open for commercial business, we're hoping that we won't have any challenges in terms of adequate supplies in the weeks ahead. But as the minister indicated, it's important for us to plan properly at a family level, at a home level, so that we can all be prepared for the days ahead.
No, Mr. Minister, I realized a few weeks that a number of people were speaking quite negatively on the issue of the Ministry of Health dealing with COVID-19. And we have since then seen for the past maybe 4 or 5 days a turnaround where there are much more positive things being said and less of the rumors. How do you feel now as the minister for constantly making mention to the general public that we should stay focused, remain focused, and do the right things?
Well, Cecil, that's exactly what we did. I mean, you had the critics here and there, but we didn't let that trouble us at all. We just decided we had a job to do. We stayed focused, and we're still remaining focused as to what we have to do. We have a job to do. We have to be prepared, and we have to protect the country and its citizens. And we're not going to get sidetracked and distracted. We have an idea of what we want to do, and we're going to stay focused. And that's what we've been doing. And then people have realized, I think, that okay, we're not going to be deterred by all the little negative stuff here and there. We have a job. We're going to stick to our job. And when we give you those guidelines, it's because we get advice from the international agencies, from the experts, and we put it within our context, our own cultural situation here, and then we tweak it here and there to suit ourselves and to make it work the best. What might work elsewhere might not necessarily work here. And we don't just do things that are done elsewhere. We don't just copy things elsewhere. We go through it, we analyze it, we take all the good parts, we adjust it to suit our environment, our situation, and then we put these things into place. And we've just remained focused. And I think the public have realized, the people have realized that we're doing it for them, for all of us together. And so it's no bad intent. It's all to protect us. And the thing about this, Cecil, is anyone can get COVID. Whether it's me, whether it's the Prime Minister, whether it's you, anyone can get COVID. So the distractions and the negative stuff really doesn't help our effort. So we decided, no, we shall not be distracted. We're going to go with our contact tracing. We're going to go with our health promotion. We're going to go with our environmental health officers doing what they have to do, our fire and ambulance doing what they have to do, the Ministry of Health, all the doctors, the nurses, the warders, the orderlies, everybody has decided, yes, we're going to stay focused and we're going to fight this together. So it's all about of just priorities. The priority here is to prevent transmission. That's what we're going to do. We're staying focused, we bring the word across, and we're not going to get distracted.
Mr. Prime Minister.
And just to say to that, we've always said to the people that we're working from a plan. You understand? And there have been many things shouted that should be done, and there are many things shouted that shouldn't have been done. And as the Minister quite rightly said, we rely on advice in many respects on the actions that would have to be taken at any given time. And so there has been a gradual implementation of actions. And different circumstances will require different actions and so forth. And that's what we're doing. And the other thing too is that we have ensured that we are fully transparent with the people of Dominica in providing with information. You understand? So when the chief epidemiologist comes out and he gives you information, these are facts. These are undisputed facts. And you see what I'm saying? So we give you the facts as they are. And as they stand. So this is what it is, and we'll continue to do that until the war has been won.
Now, you spoke earlier on about the invisible enemy as COVID-19. In reference to health kit, Mr. Prime Minister, what is your government's plan in having much more health kit, knowing that there is this invisible enemy?
You mean the test kits?
Test kits, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, we are we're getting some more test kits. We're getting some from the Pan American Health Organization, through the Pan American Health Organization, and we also will be getting some from the People's Republic of China as well. So we are increasing this. I believe, Dr. Mark, we're getting some from Pao soon.
Yes.
And also we'll be getting some from China, because for us, we've always maintained testing, because as all of the experts have indicated, that decisions must be driven by data, and this is what we have been doing. Our decisions have been driven by data, and this is why very early we started testing, and we're continuing, and we're going through a vigorous testing. So the minister referenced, for example, this evening, this case number 12, which was detected last night. We were able to identify the 24 people whom that person got in contact with. And we were able to locate them, and we were able to run the swabs and the tests on them. We keep our fingers crossed that they'll all come out negative.
Within 24 hours, Mr. Prime Minister?
Within 24 hours.
Mm-hmm.
I mean...
No, I want you to repeat it, because this is victory for me.
People, so the contact tracing is the health team, the health teams rather. I mean, these people are exceptional. You understand? I mean, when we were in Dalis and so forth, from the nurses down there and the health team and the doctors and so on, I mean, the health teams were able to identify, obviously in consultation with the patient, and identify the 24 people, got them physically, got the test done, have them stay home until the results come out. So this is good, and it speaks to the operations that we're running, and that the Ministry of Health and the health team are running, and this is what we're saying. So so with a lot of things I keep telling people are happening behind the scenes that we don't put in the public domain, because this is not our preoccupation. Our preoccupation is about doing what we must do to protect the citizens of Dominica from this virus. We did not bring this virus onto us in the country, but we have to fight it, and we're fighting it as hard as we possibly can, notwithstanding our own limitations and our own challenges here in Dominica.
And Dr. McIntyre, this for me, just hearing this from the Prime Minister in terms of identifying these 24 people within 24 hours, to me that's great success. That's a successful story.
Yes, it just tells you the hard work and the dedication of the staff in the Ministry of Health. They have put themselves out. When I see them coming back in the night sometimes, and they've done all these swabs. I mean, last weekend it was 3 teams out there, the entire Dalis, La Roche area, just going on and on, swabbing the people, and that was just exceptional. And I think we should be very proud of them, and we should give them all the support that they can possibly get. This is how it's done together, and I think everybody should take suit, and everybody should just recognize the sort of effort being put into place there. No, they're really doing an excellent job. And we've had doctors who were not working, they were in the private practice, and the private practice are closed now, and they've come on board to even help us if our screening at our accident and emergency department at Princess Margaret Hospital. So everyone has come on board. We've had retired nurses come on board, we've had doctors in the private practice come on board. So, and we're still willing to accept anyone who wants to come and help. It's a fight we can all do together. Everyone who wants to come and help, let us come together, let us do it together, and we can do it together. So they're doing an excellent job. But that is why we should not give them unnecessary work. That is why when we say quarantine, stay home, obey the curfew, so you don't have to give them extra work to do. Let them get some rest, because they've been out there doing their utmost best. Utmost best.
Does COVID-19 falls under primary health care?
It falls under everything, because primary health care has a part to play. Health promotion has a part to play, the ICU, the doctors at the hospital. So it comes under every single thing. If we have a COVID patient and then he goes into crisis, then the ICU doctors are there at the hospital to see him. We want to stop the transmission of the disease, so we have our health promotion giving all the different ways that we can stop the disease. We have our primary health care doing the contact tracing. We have the lab doing the testing. It's a comprehensive approach. Every different area of health is involved in fight against COVID. So it's not just a primary healthcare thing, it's a everybody thing. And not just the health service, it also the public has to play their part. So the healthcare plays their part, but the public plays their part. And obviously the international organizations, we must be thankful. Today, PAO actually they're giving us 14 kits. Well, not kits, but 14 boxes of PPEs, and that is the personal protective equipment. We got it today. It came through DHL, and we're very pleased and we're very grateful to PAO for that. So that even helps our preparedness. So it's even beyond just the health system. It's all the international organizations as well, donating things to us, giving us things. United Nations are also going to give us 2 PCR machines. So it's a very comprehensive approach. Everyone is on board.
We have been hearing about PCR for the longest while tonight. Can you break down what is PCR?
A PCR, that's polymerase chain reaction. What it does, it identifies little particles, the genetic particles of the virus. And that's what we use to diagnose. We have the other test, which is the rapid test, which deals with the antibodies, immunoglobulins. So this is like a screening test. But when it comes to diagnosing, you need a PCR machine to diagnose, and it's just the genetic material that it actually identifies, and that is what we use to diagnose the COVID. And but you need people who are trained in molecular testing to do those things. And luckily for us, we have staff that are trained in those things. And not only in our Princess Margaret Hospital, we have other staff in the Ministry of Agriculture who are also trained in molecular testing. So, and this is all part of it. And that training also was done recently at our lab with Dr. Gresh from CDC, who came down. And luckily, it was done before the coronavirus got out of hand in lots of places all over the world. So the training went pretty well, and that is why we're in a better position than many other places as regards to testing.
Cecil, we have a young chap like Dr. Mack in there. He has to go to bed very soon. And old man like me can stay up until late. What I would suggest that we may want to take a couple calls. That's okay?
Yes.
And then we'll have to decide at what time we end. Because it's already 10:30 in the Eastern Caribbean, Dominica included there.
You spoke just like a DJ there. But before we go to the telephone, Dr. Mark, I remembered sometime in November last year in Antigua that you were speaking at a function, and the gentleman who was doing the outside broadcast with me said, this doctor is going to do great things for Dominica. How do you feel now today as the Minister of Health, directing a pandemic in our country?
So it's just service, Cecil. It's just service. I'm at work, and I'm providing service. It's my duty, and it's my pleasure and my duty. But as to say anything particular that I feel, I just feel I'm doing the best that I can, and I want to do the best that I can possibly do, and I'll just wait to see how it works out, But for me, I'm just preoccupied in doing the best that I can do. That's my main occupation here. No feelings of grandeur and all of that. I just want to do the best that I can. In truth and in fact, Cecil, I must protect myself from the COVID as well. Bottom line.
Yes. Well, we're going to go to the telephone, and as soon as the Prime Minister said that we could open the line was already going. Let's go to the first caller. Good evening, caller. You're live.
Good evening, Cecil, and good evening, Mr. Prime Minister and Mr. McIntyre, Honourable McIntyre. Thank you, Prime Minister, for your good friend. Thank you to the government and people of Cuba coming to our aid. And Mr. McIntyre, you put to your test with COVID-19, and I'm so proud of you. You've been doing a good job. Thank you for all what you're doing for Dominica. Have a good night.
Thank you very much, caller. Let's go back to the
Thank you,
caller.
caller. Thank you.
Good evening, caller. You're live. Good evening, caller. You're live.
Good night.
Good night to you, sir. Good evening.
Yeah. Good night, Mr. Prime Minister. Good night, Dr. Mack.
Good night.
Good night, sir.
Yep. Okay. I've been listening very intensively, and I think Dominica, I'm a Dominican too, but I'm not them now. I think we have gone through quite a lot, and we are on top of the COVID virus. And I just wish, the Ministry of Health, the government, and the whole of people of Dominica every success in this fight against this disastrous monstrous, thing that is going on. Because, over here in the Virgin Islands, yes, we have quite a lot. From Jamaica market almost 2 weeks now, I'm inside. You have to listen and obey the laws that are being given. And then you go to the supermarket here, you have a line, you have a strict away from people. This has to be done, And although all this is being done, you still have the multiplying effect, when I came in here, there were only one. Right now, over the weekend, there were 29. So, there is, you don't know where it's coming from, but Croy has 10, here has about 12. God has one, so you never know who carries it. And I step outside, when I come back in, I have to spray my shoes. So I think the people, we have to be objective to the laws of the land, and what is being said, what we are being asked to do, and we just have to obey it. And if this is done, I think we can contain this virus. Good night.
Thank you very much, caller.
Thank you, caller.
Let's go to the next caller. Good evening, caller. You're live.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening, caller.
Yes, I want to congratulate Dr. Mark and, of course, the Prime Minister and the entire health team. I think Dominica is doing a tremendous job. I haven't heard much of the success story in terms of recovery. Doctor, maybe you can speak to that a little bit. I was just looking at the World Tracker, and I see they have all these countries in the world and the recovery aspect of it. Although Dominica is on, I haven't seen anything in that regard. Secondly, I was in Portsmouth last week, and I saw about 77 yachts. I'm not sure if the people are coming on shore, what happened. Is there any protocol in place in terms of the yachts? Of course, you know, Portsmouth is famous for yachts. Not that we don't want them there now, but I'm not sure what is happening. I saw 77 last week. But very good job. I think Dominica is ranking very high in the international circuit. From all indications, a very good job is being done here. Thank you very much. Good night.
Thank you very much, caller. Yes, any one of you all can answer.
Well, I will take the yacht question, and Dr. Mark will give a response to the recovery of patients thus far. First of all, I want to comment. I want to thank the folks who provide the services to the yachts, both in the Newtown area, Citrone, and of course at Purple Turtle, for their cooperation in our efforts towards containing the spread of the virus, and to have agreed to work with us in ensuring that those yachts and the people on the yachts, that we follow certain protocol. We no longer allow yachts to come in, but there were yachts there before, and you know, being part of the international community, you know, we have to provide as far as possible safe harbor to people. So we've allowed the yachts to stay in our waters, but to follow certain dictates, and so we will continue to monitor this. But at the end of the day, you know, the key to the success of this is the cooperation of those who provide services to the yachties. So we're hoping that will continue, but as it is, and as it has been for the last several days, we have not been allowing yachts to come into our shores.
Dr. McIntyre.
Yes, Cecil, as regards to our patients, we have 9 patients at the Portsmouth facility. And the only issue we had yesterday, one of our patients had a little fever, but today that was back to normal, and they're all asymptomatic. They're none in distress whatsoever. They're comfortable and they're doing pretty well. As regards to our 3 patients at our Dr. Charles, our Dominica China Friendship Hospital, PMH, we have index case 1. That was our first patient we got. There was no shortness of, that's the result I'm getting as of today. I mean, there no shortness of breath, no chest pain, the fever fluctuating a little bit, the diarrhea had subsided, and the oxygen level was up to 97% on room air. So no oxygen given to that patient. That patient was pretty much stable and comfortable enough. Our second index patient, he was alert. Oxygen saturation was up to 89%, and with oxygen given, it was up to 96%. Stable enough. Our other patient we got last night, 70-year-old, non-diabetic hypertensive, but pretty much stable enough. He had a little diarrhea as well, and only a little cough was present. No fever at that time, and oxygen saturation was up to 92%. So they're all clinically stable. And the point here is that they're doing better than they were a few days ago. So we're making progress. Our patients are recovering pretty well, and let's just hope that it stays that way. And if we continue to do what we're doing, it should stay that way. But as for Portsmouth, there are actually no symptoms. We keep the more serious patients at the Princess Margaret Hospital, and the asymptomatic or the mild ones we put to Portsmouth. But even those at the Princess Margaret Hospital, they are pretty much stable, and they're just getting better and better. So recovery-wise, I think we're doing pretty much okay.
Let's go back to the telephone. Good evening, caller. You're live.
Yeah, good evening, Cecil. Good evening, Prime Minister. And good evening, Dr. Mac. How are you all doing?
Good evening.
Hi. Good evening to you. Good evening.
Yes. I would like to really commend the medical staff and the people who are at the forefront of this battle. Um, right now, we know, I heard you, Dr. Matt, talk about the test kits, and I'm very confident that we are well postured to do wide testing. I'm not sure if you mentioned, though, I know right now the supply, I mean, the demand for PPE across the world is extremely tough right now. So, can you tell me how do we stand with PPE for folks who are on the forefront of this battle? Thank you very much.
Okay, well, that's exactly what I told you earlier, how elated and how happy we were that Power actually gave us 14 boxes, 14 cartons of PPEs, and that's the personal protective equipment. This came by DHL today, and we were very happy about that because we need to have our frontline staff well equipped, and we have to provide the personal protective equipment for them. That's the PPEs. So we got another batch today, which it puts us in a better position. Let alone that, we're also expecting to get some from the People's Republic of China, and we just keep getting from wherever we can. So, but with these 14 boxes we got from POW today, it really makes a very big difference, so that our staff can be well protected. And if we get some more from China, which we are going to get as well, it even makes us even more prepared. And let alone PPEs as regards to reagents and test kits. We're also getting some more reagents for PCR machine from very soon. POW is working on that for us. So it's an ongoing process. The more we can get, the better prepared we can be. And we want our frontline staff to be protected as well. So you're very, very correct in that regard. And the PPEs we got today, it makes life much better for us, much easier for us, and it protects our frontline staff, and we're very much concerned about that as well.
Let's go back to the telephone. Good evening, caller, you're live.
Hello?
Good evening, caller, you're live.
Yes, good night. Cecil, good night. The Honorable Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit, good night. Dr. McIntyre.
Good night.
Good night, sir.
So, I just wanted to say this to you, all Prime Minister and Minister, and I just want you all to listen. I'm a supporter of the United Workers' Party, so I just want you all to hear this. What you guys said tonight gives me a lot of hope. Tonight, I think you guys are doing an incredible job combating this pandemic, this global pandemic that has now come to our shores. Everybody's human. I mean, there were some bumps along the way, but for our country, you guys give me a lot of hope tonight. So I just want to tell you that personally, myself.
Yeah.
So thank you.
We appreciate this call, and I think we give the credit to the people on the front line and the help from professionals. We just, the water carriers, for the people out there, but these positive things serve as encouragement, because we hear so much negative something out there, that these positive comments go a long way, because the fact is we all in this war together, all of us in this war together, and we just have to do what we must do and we ought to do for our country to fight this enemy called COVID-19 coronavirus. It's a huge battle. We do not know how long the war will go on for, but we have to keep helping each other and encouraging each other so that we can continue to have the strength and the fortitude and the resources to fight this, and but rest assured, my friend, and of course all our citizens, that we will not give up. We'll continue to fight this virus, and at the end of the day, we pray to God that we'll all be successful at it, and then there are other issues of the economy that we can engage ourselves on, and to allow our country to continue to grow on the path that it was going prior to this virus. So let us continue to work together, and we really do appreciate sincerely and with great sense of humility your kind call.
Let's go back to the telephone. Good evening, caller. You're live. Good evening, caller.
Good evening, gentlemen. Good evening to the PM,
Yes, sir. Good evening to
to
you.
the Minister of Health,
Good evening. Good evening.
to the host. Two things quickly. I would like to implore of the Prime Minister to somehow, have discussions with your Health Minister and with the others who you need to speak with to see if we can arrange something whereby maybe every other day we have a specific time of day when reports can be given to the people via radio, and where we can include every single radio station so that persons are aware that they can listen in at 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the evening, whatever time it is, and it doesn't matter which radio station is their preference, that the information will get out there so that things like a curfew situation or an emergency announcement, it doesn't matter where you are tuned into, you will get that information, because it's very important that we get it. I have some neighbors who are Jamaican who I visited and asked. I gave them a phone call with regard to the curfew. They had absolutely no idea, and they were planning to go out fishing. Well, looking for fish, not fishing. So they would have been driving around the communities looking for fish and could have been stopped by the police as a result of not hearing it. So I think it's very important that we have a firm policy on that at a specific time of day. Even if at other times you have an announcement that's made, at that specific time of day, we all get the information no matter where we are. The issue of the mistake made on the weekend, I don't really want to go too deeply into that because I don't want us to get into divisive discussion, but I'm hoping that at some point it will be addressed, and hopefully next time around things will happen differently. But yeah, I encourage you all in your efforts, and let's hope that we can get this thing done. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, caller.
Thank you.
Yeah, we would take note of the 2 points, sir.
Yeah. Good evening, caller. You're live.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Good night, Doc. Good night, Cecil. Good night, Chief.
Good
Yeah,
evening.
good night. Good night.
Yeah, I just want to encourage you to continue to keep up the good works. You've been doing a tremendous job. Dr. Mark, your ministry is doing a very good job. I just want to encourage you to don't give up the fight. God is with us. And as I always say, leadership is everything. Thank you, Chief, for your leadership, man. You've been doing an excellent job. But I want to just congratulate our pal rep for Portsmouth. He's been doing a very, very good job on the ground in Portsmouth. Every day he's deeply involved in things that are being done, and he's there supporting the workers and making sure things happen in constant communication with those you have to communicate with. He's been doing a good job. Mr. Douglas, hats off to you, man. Have a good night.
Thank you very much, caller.
Thank you very much. That's good to know. Just to say, Cecil, we are accessible. I mean, every other night there's a press briefing, Dr. Mac?
Yes.
From there's a
Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Monday, Wednesday, Friday,
11
a.m. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 11 a.m. on all radio stations, right?
Yep.
The link to a radio station, and then there's also the press briefing from the office of the Prime Minister with the health team.
Correct.
So that is done every so often. I think every other day.
Yes.
That is done. So there was one on Friday, and there was one tonight.
Yeah.
There was one tonight as well. So we tried it. So whenever there's an updated, it's new information, we try to give it as quickly as possible, and that will continue.
And it's not possible, sorry, Mr. Prime Minister, it's not possible to really give a particular time.
Well, we try to do the press briefing from the office of the Prime Minister at 6 p.m. So it's normally held at 6 p.m. I think it was a little bit late tonight because Dr. Ahmed was also in the field doing the contact tracing. So we had to wait for him. And this is one reason why we're here at 9 o'clock tonight. We wanted to come earlier. But we wanted to ensure that that there's some empirical information that could have been given to the public by Dr. Ahmed prior to us coming. One of the things that we want to do, between myself and Dr. Mack, is to come to the radio stations, and we prepared to connect to all radio stations and all media that are prepared to engage, so that we can also file questions from the public as well. And because our mission is also to minimize or eliminate the fears and anxieties of the public. So we open, we open and we take note of the suggestions. In respect to the order that was passed on the weekend, we recognize that greater notice could have been given to people, and there need to have been greater clarification. That's why we're here tonight in advance of the further amendments to the order. We'll be calling certain private sector entities to seek their understanding and cooperation in some respects, so that when it comes, we're not taken by surprise, as some of us would have been taken by surprise. So we apologize for that. It wasn't the intention, but we need to get it out, and we have to get it out, and so we take note of these things and so forth, and going forward, certainly we're seeking to ensure that doesn't happen again.
Okay, let's go back to the telephone. Good evening, caller. Good evening, caller.
Yes, good evening. I just want to say congrats for the information, and I like the fact that the aspect of the rum business for short period. From the airport standpoint, we had taken a decision long time ago.
I'm not hearing you, caller. I'm not hearing you at all, so I really can't.
We cannot hear.
So you have to try to call again, because I just can't really hear anything that you're saying. Let's go back to the telephone. Good evening, caller.
Good evening to your guest and Mrs. Leslie. You're doing a good job.
Thank you.
But I just want to applaud and commend the Minister of Health, because whenever he have the opportunity to, in a conference or to make a statement, we can, as a nation, we cannot say that we lack in information, because he does really hammer down what you should do and what you should not do. I think that is very, whenever you listen to Dr. Mark, you cannot say you're void of information. And Mr. Prime Minister, you're doing your best. Just continue, and God will do the rest. Amen.
Thank you very much, caller.
Thank you.
And we're going up to the next 9 minutes, Mr. Prime Minister. Can we?
Sure, we can.
Okay, let's go up to the next 9 minutes. Good evening, caller. You're live. Good evening, caller. You're live.
Hello. Good evening. So let me ask you my question for the PM. In concern of construction workers, we up on the apartments up in Grand Fond, Bailey, Transylvania. But we not yet have no clarification of if it have worked from NMC or from NH or nothing. So I would like to know what he have to say on that.
Yeah, thank you, caller. Good question. We're waiting to be advised by the health team on how do we treat construction sites in respect to the order. Okay, so God's willing, tomorrow that will be clarified, and we will certainly give some advice in that regard. Okay, but we're waiting for advice from the health team on how do we treat construction sites in light of the other special consideration that we've given to certain sectors within the economy. So tomorrow, God's willing, we will have clarification on this, and we will inform the nation accordingly. Okay, but very good question. As a matter of fact, just before the program started, Dr. Mark mentioned to me, reminded me that we need to bring clarification to this, because we're sure this question will come up, and I know he has been in communication with his team. So by tomorrow we will have this, and we were discussing today at the cabinet on this. But by 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock for the latest, we should have clarification on whether we include you on the stay home list, or we give you the same time frame to work, but also take into consideration the social distancing aspect of it, and the distance from each other. So we could, but in some regards, there's certain aspect of construction that this is impossible. So we have to look at all angles of this. But at the end of the day, your safety is our preoccupation. So tomorrow we'll have clarification on this.
Let's go back to the telephone. Good evening, caller. You're live. Caller, you're live.
Good evening, Cecil.
Good evening.
Good evening, Prime Minister.
Yeah, good evening, sir.
My doctor.
Good evening.
Right. Anyway, congratulations for keeping our country in safe hands and do what all you have to do, no matter what people say. We need to do what we have to do, and I call on all Dominicans to obey what you have to do. Social distance, take care of yourself, and make sure all you is fine. Those who know, we will be there trying our best. Thank you very much, my Prime Minister. And take care of yourself and your family.
Thank you, my brother. All the best, okay? To you and your family as well. Thank you.
Let's go back to the telephone. Good evening, caller. You're live. Good evening, caller. Oh, sorry about that, caller. You have to call back. Good evening, caller. You're live. Yes, speak up, please.
Yeah. Hello, good evening. I've been listening for the longest while, and I don't hear no farmer call. I haven't heard nothing on behalf of the farmers, the agriculture farmers.
Yeah, we call the farmers, my brother. We did call the farmers. We will make special arrangements for the farmers as well, to tend to their animals and to the crops, but again within the specific and or the specified time frame. Okay, so again, do not quote me on this. We're still refining the time frame, but we're looking at from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. But again, that is subject to change. Not in a dramatic way, but it's subject to change. But we're making special arrangements for agricultural services. So even our fresh produce vendors, we're making arrangements for you to be able to sell your produce again within a specific time frame, for the fishermen to go out, catch your fish, come back, sell it 2 o'clock, hit home. Get 6 o'clock, you're indoors watching TV and playing your games with your family. So that is the idea. So we're mindful of those things. So those things are given special consideration.
Let's go back to the telephone. Good evening, caller. You're live. Good evening, caller.
Just a quick question. Earlier on, good evening, gentlemen.
Yeah, good evening.
One caller spoke about 77 yachts being at Portsmouth. I think the Prime Minister stated that they had been there before. How do they get access to food and water? I just thought, how do we service those particular things? Thank you.
Yes, thank you, my brother. Nice hearing you. I said we are in consultation with the service providers so that there is a certain protocol that is followed. The whole intention is that those persons on the yacht should really stay on board. Should really stay on board as far as possible. And then there are certain arrangements I understand that have been made to provide them with food and water, and so, but in a very, very pragmatic manner, very careful manner. So I know that the health promotion team has had interactions with PAs in Portsmouth, and also the folks in Newtown and Citra in the area. So the whole idea is to ensure that our people can be safe, and also our visitors to our country can also be safe as well. So these things have been taken note of, and of course I'm hoping again that during the course of this week there'll be another engagement by the health promotion team to follow up and follow through on some of the guidelines that they have been providing those persons providing the services.
Let's go back to the telephone. Good evening, caller. You're live.
Yeah, good evening, gentlemen. Good evening, Cecil. Good evening, Mr. Prime Minister.
Yes, good evening, sir.
Good evening, Dr. Mac.
Good evening.
Yeah, this is yours truly, Thaddeus James, Black Pepper, sir. Good night.
Yes, all right, greetings.
Yeah, I just wanted to, I've been
You know, while you're on your blog there live, I was on my blog there live doing what I do. You know.
You guys popular, man. You guys popular.
And yeah, it's not about popular. When we all have to do what we have.
We have to do what you have to do.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it is what it is. But I want to personally say, I think I have a sense of, I feel a little hope now because I've been checking the numbers, 12, and I'm saying, but you know what, man? We might be late on certain things, and me already, I don't give enough pressure when it comes to that. But the bottom line is, at some point in time, it kick in. So right now, I satisfied that everyone making a significant effort out there to hold that down, and with the numbers we have, I think we can stand tall and we can stand proud, right? I want to congratulate all the nurses and the doctors and the people on the front line, sir. I want to take that experience and that event and remember that for as long as you live. So at the end of the day, when you go man, you have the purpose, then you really can watch it and say, yes, I see what I have to do now the next time. I see where respect has to be to full time. You get where I'm coming from. I don't want to go.
No, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, so never leave that past. But all in all, I think I love the fact, I love that little conversation there tonight. It, it softened the pan a little because I heard you apologize for the kind of, just a little bad judgment in calling the curfew. And that's what I like. When you realize that something had a little flaw to it, there's nothing wrong in apologizing to. So I felt like, yes, we're making progress as a people now. You get what I'm saying? I really felt good when I heard you say, okay, it was a little oversight the way it happened, but I understand too it had to happen. Mm-hmm. You get my point?
That's what we accept that. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. So moving forward, you just have to stay focused. It's very, very important to stay focused, and for the rest of the people who are listening, you all need to hold all your strain so that Mr. Skerrit's attention doesn't be diverted from where it's supposed to be. That's important too. You need to stay on your track. If you're on the outside lane, you're on the outside lane. Who in the middle lane, in the middle lane. Who on the first lane, the slow lane, on the slow lane. You get what I'm saying? So, all in all, at the end of the day, we'll all win that relay race together. All right?
Yeah.
So, but keep up the good work and stay focused. And it's all about for country. It's nothing political that is out of the agenda right now. And we can stand tall, and we might send a big indicator to the world based on how we handle that, even with the little resources we have. Yeah. But we show them how management can, and planning and collectiveness can conquer all. All right? So let's just stay focused and hope for the best in that. And Comrade, good luck out there. Dr. Mark, good job. Stay focused. And I love the little spirit you and Mr. Skerrit have. Let's just do it, man. It's passing on this earth, eh? So let's just do what we have to do while we're here. Do it right and exit with pride. Yeah. All right?
But thank you, caller. Just to say, there are teams at various levels. I can tell you, the cabinet is working, very, very well together. There's great unison, there's great team spirit, and of course the leadership of Dr. Mark at the ministry, the political leadership of Dr. Mark at the ministry. His whole style, his whole approach to things, and his extraordinary demonstration of maturity, and then you have the health team, and the health team is broken up into various groups, different people carrying out their work diligently with no complaint whatsoever. Then you have the logistics people on the ground. We have also put permanent secretaries and senior public officers into subcommittees to provide the technical support to the ministerial subcommittees that we have. We have the EOC. We're in regular contact with the chief medical officer, acting, Dr. Fiora, the consultant, the director of primary health care, the HMD, Dr. Blah, Dr. Ahmed, who is the chief epidemiologist for our country, nurse, the principal nursing officer, Nurse Ravalier, and of course the matron, the PS of in health. The pharmacist, the lady at Nurse Lambert at the CMS, people like Dr. Blanc, who's the medical director or hospital medical director, really, really exceptional. You know, these people have left their families. We have nurses down in Portsmouth, residing in Portsmouth for the last several days. Doctors, I mean, young doctors, you know, who were called in and now on the front line, intrinsically motivated. The policemen are up to the task now. The chief and the deputy chief and I think he might be ASP now, ASP Lawrence or down in Portsmouth. I'm not sure what is his rank, but Mr. Lawrence, who is in charge of the
Superintendent.
he's a superintendent. Down in Portsmouth, and everybody just pulling their weight. We cannot give enough praise to the chief fire officer and his men. You know, um, you know, we have the matron, Nurse Bruni. I mean, really, really, really a mover and a shaker. You know, so all of these people, the people who came in, we have people like Mrs. Astafan, Jennifer Astafan, who has an extra fine way of working and weaving herself through the system and getting things done. There we have people like Sister Matthew, who's exceptional there. People like Nurse Nicholas, Nurse Nicholas is down in Portsmouth. I mean, the drivers,
the acting CMO,
the drivers, the people who are providing the meals. I mean, we have how many people in quarantine, Dr. Mark, again?
Yeah, 126.
126. We have to prepare 126. Breakfast 126, lunch 126, dinners, plus all of the staff to the COVID center and those providing services to the quarantine facility. People like Double O, and his team, who came without any talk about money. We decided, let's go and start this place, and Double O brought his team, Renef Alexis, who's been helping, on all fronts, with no talk about money. I mean, doing all sorts of errands for the government down there, for the health team down there. You heard the people, the caller mentioned Ian Douglas and so forth. Colin McIntyre, Dr. Mark, who was assigned the role of coordinator of logistics and ensuring that the center was in place. And I mean, the list goes on and on, and so many people out there. Shillingford, for the health promotion team and her people, those folks who are manning the hotlines, 24 hotline. The list goes on and on. These people are always available. One call and they're there in quick order. The permanent secretaries, many of them have been engrossing this from day one, providing support. We have people like Floyd Capitole and Missy Henderson there, 24/7. People like Mara St. Rose and others and so on. My brothers, friends, Dominicans, I can tell you, I am certainly proud of our nation. I don't know what tomorrow will bring. I don't know how this will end. We only pray that it will end in our favor. But if there's one thing that we can live to speak about, is the extraordinary manner in which Dominicans have risen to the occasion. And that is in itself a major source of strength, a major source of encouragement, that we have Dominicans who are braving the environment and saying that we are standing for our country and for our citizens and residents, and I think that speaks volume to the people, and I will never forget these people, and I don't think Dominicans should forget these people at all, and I cannot say what the state will do for them at some point, but the state must recognize these people in an appropriate fashion when this is all over. And we thank their families too. We thank their families and their relatives. who have allowed them to be away from them for so long, you know. And we also thank the Cubans who are here, who have been here working with us for some time. Dr. Lopez and a team, Dr. Lopez has been very helpful, and a team of Cuban Brigade, and plus the people who came in, um, who came in to assist from Cuba. You know, we have Inspector Powell, the chief immigration officer, exceptional lady, and I think that the police force should be proud to have officers like her in there. We have bad will. Sometimes people call him good will, and some people call him bad will. But we can call him always good will. I mean, so he's really, really helpful and so on. And there, the customs officers, the immigration officers, the list goes on and on. The people who come to dispose of the garbage in Portsmouth and the various facilities, and of course, by and large, the people who are the quarantine facilities. They're really um, helpful because they behave. It makes their life easier for us, and they're all behaving, and we're happy for this. We have Miss Thomas, the chief environmental health officer, Tazi Thomas. I know her. And her team. The people who are the first to encounter the planes and the ferries, who have to go and tell people they can disembark and get the documents from this craft before the passengers can disembark, and they've never flinched in their responsibility and their duties. Things have not been perfect, but they have been excellent. And I think we have to commend ourselves on this. The CAPSEC, has been exceptional. Working day in day out and assisting on all fronts, even things. So people have not been watching to say, well, okay, whether this is my terms of references or not. People are just working. We brought in doctors, a couple of doctors from the private sector who've come into work. They haven't asked what contract and how they're going to get paid, and so let's work. There are nurses who have given us 30, 40 years of service and who say, I'm available. Tell me when to start. Tell me what I can do. And they're working. They're not talking about salary or wage or any compensation. They're working. Some pharmacists have been re-engaged. So they're not asking, my contract and so on. Has Cabinet approve it? No. The country needs them. They're availing themselves. People who have volunteered, not talking about salary, not talking about pay. You see, they're just working, and it speaks well. And we have people like Dr. Fiora, who has given this country so many decades of service, and who, when called, did not look back and say, well, I'll think about it. He offered himself to assist in guiding the nation in this effort and so forth. The chief pharmacist, the pharmacist in Portsmouth, who is providing the services down at Portsmouth. The Mrs. Jamot at the lab superintendent and her staff, the lab techs up there. This is tedious work, for them. You're just not taking a sample or swab and this is science, and science has to be specific, science has to be sufficiently detailed, and so it requires a certain discipline, a certain organizational skill to be exercised, and they have been doing so diligently and dutifully. And as Dr. Mark indicated earlier, that when we do the test here, we do send it to the CDC in Atlanta just to double check. And he has said there, as the CDC has indicated to us in Dominica, that we are doing a fantastic job. And this job is being done fantastically by these people, by the lab superintendent and all of the people who provide the support to them. We have people on the ground there, just pushing, working, and so things. I said to the nation before. 2 days always better than yesterday, because we're better off, you know. And so what we have to do now as citizens is to ensure that we we manage the spread, um, and that we keep on praying that the cases that we have now don't increase. So we keep our fingers crossed that the 24 people who were swabbed and who have been tested, that those can come back negative and we can give a sigh of relief. But if one or two come back positive, then we're prepared to provide the care and the treatment to our citizens. And I will say to you before Cecil, I allow Dr. Mark to give some closing comments and so on. So I'll consider my closing comments. Um, there's no need for us to have any stigma associated with any individual who has contracted this virus, um, or any community where our citizens reside. You know, this there's no need to have any stigma associated with this. Okay, no need for any stigma associated with this. And so let us pray for the speedy recovery, for the successful speedy recovery. Let us pray for the families as they themselves are worried about their own loved ones. You know, and us, you know, in life we always put ourselves in those circumstances. And the question is, how would I like to be treated or viewed if I were the one who would have contracted the virus? You know, and these days whenever I speak, you know, a song or two always comes out of it. You know, I said everybody's getting it. You know, and you know, and that's the fact. You know, that's the situation. Um, but you know, I know it's difficult for many people to stay home. You know, I mean, Dominicans are by nature outdoor people, so I know how difficult it is. But let us find ways of entertaining ourselves and ensuring that we can survive this together. So, Cecil, thank you for having me.
But before you say thank you, Mr. Prime Minister, a very good friend of yours sent me a WhatsApp message and asked me to ask that very relevant question. That is, once the shutdown comes or is instituted, they would like to find out whether or not the 10 persons will kick in to really help them to broadcast live their service on Facebook. They're trying to find out once the curfew.
The church service.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, we'll facilitate those things. I mean, we'll facilitate. I mean, if you know, there are certain services that will facilitate. So somebody like that, I would suggest to the person that they should contact the CAPSEC, so the CAPSEC can give some guidance on this, on how person can be facilitated. But we're not trying to impose the will of the state on people. All we're trying to do in this circumstance is to do all that we need to do to protect our citizens, our country. And if we have to facilitate a particular entity, you know, we do so. And we've been engaging people, you know, engaging companies, because companies have peculiar challenges. For example, Clear Harbor is a major partner of the country that we've been engaging them, trying to facilitate them, guiding them, you know, clarifying things with them, and they've been very understanding and cooperative in that regard. So we're open to this thing, and we're open to suggestions. To anybody. We just have to work together, and that's what we are soliciting. You know, unity, cooperation, understanding. But rest assured that we will do everything humanly possible, within our reach, to protect our country, and that's our preoccupation at this time. So I really want to thank all of you, and maybe what we could do, Cecil, is to you know, have this maybe twice a week or something, so that we can field or file questions from the public and clarify things to them, and to give them updates and to have an engagement. And so we'll see how we work it out and so on. What I would suggest for us to do tomorrow at 9 o'clock is for us to stop whatever we're doing at 9 o'clock tomorrow and to applaud the people on the front line. You know, applaud the people on the front line. So if all of us in Dominica, 72,000 of us in Dominica, could stop what we're doing at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, God's willing, and to applaud all of these people who are on the front line, who are providing care and guidance uh, uh, to our national fight against COVID-19, the coronavirus. Um, I'm sure that that would serve as a source of encouragement to them, as we've seen it happen in other parts of the world.
What I can say to you, Mr. Prime Minister, tomorrow at 9 o'clock, I'm going to ensure that that happens by starting here with DBS Radio and our
Sure.
staff, those are here,
Every one
to
of us,
come
yeah.
here and to applaud so that we can get everybody to make them know that 30 seconds are coming down. Let's get at 9 o'clock to come
Sure.
together and to applaud.
Sure.
Thanks for that good idea, Mr. Prime Minister. We'll do that, and I'm sure that the country will approve to that. Now, closing remarks, Mr. Minister. In your closing remarks, I would like to also find out, in as much as you spoke about tests done in Dominica, have you seen any of the OECS countries requesting of us to do the tests for them too?
They haven't requested from us officially. At the moment, they're sending their tests to Trinidad, which takes more often than not more than 48 hours. As I said here, we get hours much less than 24 hours. But most of they have their arrangements with CAFA, and CAFA does their testing for them in Trinidad. But they haven't been doing it here. Obviously, we have to be mindful in the sense that we have our kits and we have to do our testing. Maybe CAFA has more tests because CAFA is the Caribbean Public Health Agency, so they maybe cater for the OECS countries while we cater for ourselves. So we still do our stuff, but the other OECS countries send theirs to CAFA, which is the parent organization handling the tests for the other for many of the other Caribbean islands.
Well, one of the things, just as a doc, one of the things we have to look at is seeing that we have the second machine
exactly
that we have been advised can in fact test for COVID-19. If these countries have test kits, then we may look at the possibility of facilitating them.
Very correct.
So it's something that we'll look at.
Yes, very correct.
Yeah.
Very, very correct. And but before we leave, Cecil, I just want to let everybody know. Let's just stick to the basics. Let's follow our home quarantine measures. They're very important. Our hand hygiene, definitely. We keep washing our hands, and every time you use a sanitizer or your alcohol, you can wash your hands with water. After 3 attempts, you can wash your hands with water after 3 times. And our respiratory etiquette, that's how we sneeze and how we cough. In our elbow, we've shown you that how many times. So just continue doing those different things. And let's not give in a simple way, let's not give the virus a VEP. Don't give the virus a ride. The virus is bombing a ride on you and me. Let's not give it a ride. So let's leave the virus stranded. So that's how we're going to leave the virus stranded. But before I leave, I just want to give you the hotline numbers. Any little information you want. So if you have pen and paper, you can take down these numbers. It's 448-2151, 448-2153, 448-2156. We have 611-4325. And we also have a toll-free number, 1-800-219. So you can always call us. We have persons waiting to get your call 24/7. We have lots of operators. They work in different shifts. We have actually 12 operators working different shifts. So you can call us anytime. And we'll be willing to entertain your call and we'll be willing to direct you accordingly. So let's stay focused. We can do it. We've been doing it. And I think we can just do it together as we've been doing before. We can get the result that we really desire, and we can have our country as safe as it can possibly be. So thanks for having us here, Cecil. Highly appreciated. Let's continue the good work together, and we'll be here again.
And I thank you very much, I want to say too. But I realize both you, Prime Minister and Dr. Marker, I've heard quite a number of promos from the various constituents, from the various parliamentary representatives, bigging up their constituency more or less to be taking the precautionary measures, and I have not heard from either of you all.
We're in National Front. We're preoccupied with National Front, but our constituencies know who we are, and certainly they know that we're mindful of them. What I have done is that I have had a PA system go into the constituency, we're just far as Portsmouth, I believe, to just informing the public of what we need to do, when we need to do it, how we need to do it, and for them to be mindful of the guidelines of the Ministry of Health. There were some jingles and some promotional material we got from the health promotion team. But we want to say to I want to say to my constituents, that you're my thoughts and prayers. We've had some deaths, and because of the situation, we could not attend the funerals. But I've been in touch with the families, and the relatives. But let us be encouraged. Let us follow the guidelines. We are wonderful people in Bakers, Penville, and Tebow, and let us continue to be the best that we ought to be.
Yes, and to my constituency, well, I've been interacting with them. As a matter of fact, over the weekend, I thought, let me just see if my curfew's been adhered to. And I took a little drive up into the village of Mount Prosper, where I live. And it was like a ghost town. So I thought, okay, we're getting somewhere. The people are obeying us, and they're staying indoors. And I highly appreciate it, obviously. All the other different hamlets in the valley, I've been in touch with them, whether it's on phone or whether it's on WhatsApp or just meeting people. And I'm happy that they're adhering to the regulations and to the different advice we give them from the Ministry of Health. So people of the Roosevelt Valley, continue doing what you're doing. We're just going to stay safe together. We're going to practice all the different advice that we've been given, and that way we can stay safe in our beautiful Roosevelt Valley. So thanks again, and let's just continue doing what we're doing in the Roosevelt Valley. Thank you so much.
I just want to say thank you to the both of you all for coming in tonight, spending some 2 hours and a half giving information to the general public. And as the Prime Minister rightly said, that we'll have to try to do this twice in a week.
Yeah.
And let's see how that happens. And I can assure you guys that from the information given, quite a number of persons called in to say thank you. Quite a number of persons who couldn't call in themselves must be saying thank you for the information. And so information really is the power to really the success of this program.
But I'm hoping next time we come, we'll assign more of the program to calls, so that we can hear the questions and concerns and recommendations of the public. But we'll avail ourselves, and we want to thank Kyrie FM for carrying this live as well, and we look forward to Q95 and Vibes Radio joining in next time, so that all of the, of course, the Catholic radio station, if possible, all the radio station, all the medium could have access to the information that we're giving out to the general public.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Good night.
Yeah, good
Thank
night.
you.
Yes.
Listen to TBS Radio for factual information on the coronavirus. TBS wants you to take care of your health and protect others by washing